You are listening to the new WCEG Network on WCEGTalkRadio.com. Watch us live on your smart TV, on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn on the WCEG Network. I'm Wardell Richardson, your show host, right here on WCEG Wood, the Hollywood of the South, for the next hour. We are the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Subscribe free to our YouTube channel at WCEG Network. Like, follow, and connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, IG, and LinkedIn. We have some new platforms as well. Download our free mobile app, iOS, Apple iPhones, and iPads. Go to the Apple Store and search for WCEG Talk Radio. On the Apple TV, search for WCEG Network TV. On Apple Watch, search WCEG Network. On your Android mobile phone and tablets, go to Google Play Store and search for WCEG Talk Radio. Last but not least, the topics and opinions are those of the show hosts and guests and not those of WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back. Wardell Richardson is in the house again. Actor, producer, director, show host. I'm just excited to be here. It has been a long time coming. For those of you who did not know, I've been gone for a while, a good while. It's been a lot going on in my life in the past year. It's been a little bit over a year since I've been on here. I've went to school. It's just been a whole lot of things that's happened. I'm about to get all into it. This particular show is directed to my people, my fans, everybody who wants to know what's been going on with me. And not to mention, I went through a traumatic time this year. And I'm going to put all that on the table so everyone can know exactly what I've been going through. It has been a challenge. Definitely has been a challenge. To begin, I left the show for a while just to go to school. In 2023, I started grant writing school, and then I took nonprofit classes, which went into 2024. And I didn't get out of those classes until sometime in May or April of 2024. And I'm going to tell you right now, grant writing is the way to go. Learning nonprofit, it is the way to go. Sharita, who has a show on this network, is amazing. She is phenomenal. She is one of the best people in this field. So if you know who this is, if you want to go and look up her show on this network, look at her show, learn a lot about nonprofit and grant writing, and she also does classes. So she's amazing. I was granted my 501c3 during I was granted. Oh, I take that back. She's no longer hosting. I just got that message. She's no longer hosting anymore. I guess she got too busy. But she is amazing. I know she still does classes. She's independent now, and she's a phenomenal woman. Very smart, very talented. I spoke to her not too long ago. I got my 501c3 just this year. It took 6 months for it to get approved. But she is on Facebook. She is not streaming, but she is on Facebook. So make sure y'all follow her. She's an amazing woman, very smart, very talented. I love her to pieces. She is just an amazing woman. But if you don't know anything about grant writing and nonprofiting, please go and take her classes. It is life-changing. I learned so much taking her classes. During the time that I was taking her classes, my grandmother died. That was in February. So a lot of things changed. So I'm trying to go to class, trying to get through class. My grandmother passed away, and it just was a lot happening at the same time. But I still managed to finish the class, and I still managed to support my family, be there for my family, and attend my grandmother's funeral, which was very heart-wrenching for me because she is and always will be the epitome of what our family was. She just was an amazing woman. She loved me unconditionally. I loved the person that she was and she is and forever will be. She was easy to talk to and just an amazing woman. So I miss her dearly. I miss her every day. So after her funeral and I finished school, I had to find, I was looking because I stayed with her to help her while she was going through her transition. Once that had happened, I was looking for me a house. I bought me a house. I closed in August. So all that summer, I'm going around looking for a home, trying to find me a new place to live. And I found a nice home on the west side of Atlanta. I love the home, a nice, peaceful area. And it's so crazy because when I tell you buying houses nowadays is extremely difficult. I don't, I've never had that kind of problem in the past. It was an issue after the issue after an issue. So anybody who's out there trying to buy a house, have your stuff together because it's totally different. And I think a lot of it is computer generated now. They put your stuff through a system. If the computer don't come out and say you're good, then they can't push you through it, and they keep running through this system. It's crazy. It's a whole nother thing. So I'm just glad I got through it. I got a roof over my head and I moved my mom in and take care of her, and she's, the light of my life, and I just been taking care of her since I bought my home. But it's crazy because I started shooting a movie, and that movie is called The Strength of Love. Shout out to Jeff Bass and his team and his wife. They are amazing. The movie is called The Strength of Love, and it's a movie about Black love. And trust me, y'all don't want to miss this movie. It's going to be coming out soon. It is an amazing movie. And I'm not just saying it because I'm in it. I'm just saying it because it is just, everybody who watched it, you're going to laugh, you're going to cry, you're gonna be shocked. You're gonna be surprised. It's just a lot that goes on with that particular project, and I just love it. It's an amazing piece. But I started. So when I closed on my home in 2024, it was August 12th. August 12th, I closed. August 13th, I started the first day of filming The Strength of Love. August the 14th, which was that Wednesday, I had to move everything out of my storage and into my house. And on August that was the 15th, the 14th, I moved everything out of my storage, and the 15th and 16th, I had to shoot some more scenes. So it's like that week was just packed. I closed, shot, shooting the movie, I moved my stuff out of storage and shot two more scenes, 2 more days of filming the movie, The Strength of Love. And it just so happened that everything fell right in order. I didn't have to change anything around. Sometimes I think God just be having my back because I didn't know how I was going to make this work. I needed to be at both of these situations at the same time. And it just happened to work out exactly the way I needed it to. Um, that Friday on the 16th, which was the last day of shooting that week, that I had to shoot that week, I got a call from my job that I got a promotion. And I was like, what? And I just, applied for this particular position at my job, got the promotion. And not even an hour later, I got another email from my job saying that we were on strike. Now, if you know a company that went on strike last year, I'm a part of that company, and we was on strike for about a month. Which, if you when you buy a house, you're not thinking you're gonna be going on strike because when you go on strike, and especially for about a month, you're not getting paid. You have to be on the line picketing. And so it was just a crazy, crazy year. Like it was just so much stuff going on. At that particular time, there was a lot of stuff going on. And I'm sitting there looking at myself like, man, this this is crazy, but I'm thankful that that time happened, that I had to be off because I was able to move my mother into my home and get her situated. Had I not done that and been off and had that time, it'd have been trying to squeeze it in here and there. So I think there's a reason for everything. I was able to help get my grandmother's home cleared out because we finally sold the house and we had to get everything cleared out of the house and everything. So it was a lot going on at that time. So after that, moving my mom in, trying to get settled, trying to get my place together. All this time, I'm not doing nothing here at WCEG. I'm still checking in, but I think I may have did one or two shows. I can't remember. I think I did one or two shows last year. I'm not sure, but because my memory is just so foggy. But yes, I did. I did do a couple shows last year. Penny's in the background. She let me know, hey, yep, you did a few things. So I did do a couple of shows. Now, with that being said, so the year went on, and now I'm gonna go back a little bit. This is where my life takes a total turn because cancer comes in. And I think when people when you start hearing the word cancer, you think the worst. Anybody who hears it thinks the worst. I thought the worst. I still think the worst because it was a horrific time. So I'm gonna try to get through this as calm as I can. There may be some moments where I get very emotional because it was an emotional time in my life. But um, it was an eye opener, so to speak. Earlier in 2024, I woke up one morning that summer and I felt a bulge on the left side of my neck. You couldn't see it, but I could feel it. It just felt like a little bulge. And I was like, what is that? So I felt the other side of my neck. It felt normal, but this side had a bulge in it. I didn't think nothing of it. It didn't hurt. It didn't bother me. I'm moving on thinking it'll just go away. I'm like, it's probably some swollen lymph nodes or something. It'll just go away. As months go by, I'm talking to a friend of mine on the phone. Shout out to Tiffany Roberts, who's a really close friend of mine. We was having a conversation about film and whatnot. And I was still rubbing on him, realizing it's still there. And I said, what is this bulge in my neck? She said, what did you say? I said, it's some type of bulge in my neck. I don't know. She said, what are you talking about? I said, I woke up one morning and there was this bulge just on the side of my neck and I'm grabbing it. I can feel it. You can't see it, but I can feel it. She said, go see a doctor right now. I'm like, what? She said, Wardell, go see a doctor now. I said, it's not that bad. I'm not gonna do all that. She's Wardell, my brother thought the same thing. He wound up having a situation. I don't want it to be your situation. I don't even want to talk about it or say what it was. Just go get it checked. Well, I just kind of brushed it off and because it didn't hurt or anything. And as men, we hate, I'm not even gonna lie, men hate going to hospitals. I know some other people hate going to hospital, but I know I hate going to the hospital, I hate going to doctors. Now I go regular. I mean, I've been going to so many doctors, it's unbelievable. But I hate going to doctors. I hate them telling me stuff that I really don't believe is going on. I feel like they just want my money. And when I tell you what's been going on with me through this cancer process, you're going to see why I feel that way. So I go to work. It's January of 2025 this year. I go to work. Um, I do hard labor work, working with fiber cables and stuff like that. I am at work. I get out of my truck. I'm not holding it, not doing it. I literally just step out of my work truck and I felt this sharp pain in my back. It was the sharpest pain. It was almost like somebody just took a spear and just stabbed it in my back. And I just hit the ground. In broad daylight in the neighborhood, I just hit the ground on in this long street that was in this neighborhood. And I was in so much pain. And initially, I just thought, I just felt like I had a pinched nerve or something, because I get those from time to time. And I forced myself up and moved to the back of my truck and just start closing everything up because it's the end of the day really at work. I close up everything at my job. I get back into my work vehicle. I drive to the work center to get into my regular car. I got into my regular car and drove straight to Northside Hospital. I get to the hospital and they was checking my back and trying to see what was going on. They gave me um, some a medicine that they put an IV on me, and they tried to see if they could take the pain away by putting some meds in me, and it didn't take the pain away at all. I was still in pain, and the nurse looked at me. She said, "You still in pain?" I said, "Yes, I'm in a lot of pain." And they said, "Well, we think you may have a pinched nerve. We're just gonna give you a prescription. You need to go home and relax and go see your family doctor on Monday." And this was a Friday. I said, "Okay." So I had to get somebody to come to the hospital just to help me walk to my car because I couldn't even walk to my car. I had to lean on them to walk to my car. I get to my car, I drive home, I get in the bed, I rest that whole weekend. That Monday, I go to see my family doctor. Once I see my family doctor, I'm telling her about this pain in my back, what's going on, this, that, and the other. I said, "Oh, while I'm here, I have this little bulge in my neck. I don't know what it is." And she said, "What?" Immediately, her attention got off of the pain that was in my back because that started subsiding, by the way. Um, and I, it just her attention just went to my neck, and she touched my neck. She felt the bulge. She said, "I'm sending you to get a CT scan tomorrow." I said, "Tomorrow?" She said, "Yes, tomorrow. I need you to go tomorrow. I don't want it to be something different than what I'm thinking it could be." And then I said, "Well, what could it be?" She said, "Well, I just don't want it to be the big C." I said, "The big C?" I said, "Cancer?" And she was just like, "Yeah." I said, "I ain't no cancer." Because, let me tell you, I work out. I don't smoke. I rarely drink. And, I can't say I eat the best all the time, but I try. But cancer just wasn't the thought that was what it was at all. So I go the next day, I get the CT scan. She gets the test. And that Thursday, she calls me and said, "I'm sending you to see an ENT tomorrow." I said, "Okay." She said, "I'm not going to say anything else. I want you to see the ENT tomorrow and let them talk to you." I said, "Okay." So I go to see an ENT. And for those of you who don't know what an ENT doctor is, it's an ear, nose, throat doctor. Okay. So I go see the ear, nose, throat doctor. I'm sitting in the office and he walks in with two nurses and they sit in front of me. And he says, "So, why do you think you're here?" I said, "I don't know." That's what I'm trying to find out. Oh, and by the way, the pain after I got the CT, saw my family doctor and got the CT scan, that pain just disappeared in my back. It just vanished. I truly believe that was God telling me, "Look, you need to go get this checked. Because the only way I'm going to get you to go to the doctor is if I give you a reason to go to the doctor." So I, I believe God is real. And he said, "You need to go and get this checked before it get worse." And I was being stubborn. He already said somebody to tell me to go see. I was being stubborn and did not go see. And so he made it where I go see. And I go to see, because my pain went away right after. I mean, immediately after I saw her that Monday. The next day I go see the CT scan, there's no pain at all. So back to that Thursday, I'm at the ear, nose, throat doctor. He walks in with 2 nurses. He sits in front of me. He says, "So what do you think is going on?" I said, "I have no idea. That's why I'm here." He said, "Okay, but what do you think is going on?" I said, "Look, my family doctor said she didn't want it to be the big C." And so I don't know what is going on. And he said, "Well, I'm here to tell you that's exactly what it is. You have cancer in your neck, in your throat." I said, "What?" And I just paused. Like, I didn't even know. It's like everything he said after that was kind of like the teacher on Charlie Brown. Want, 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 want. I just didn't know what to think from that. And he couldn't really give me answers because he wasn't a cancer specialist. He was just saying, we have to do a biopsy. I think that's what he was saying, and we have to check this and check. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, first off, you know, I I don't how do you get cancer? I said, I don't smoke, I don't drink. He said, well, I don't think it was caused from anything like that. I think yours was caused from a virus. He said, I'm not an expert in that field. He said, so I'm going to send you to an ENT cancer specialist. He said, I know a guy that's really good and he can give you a better diagnosis than me. He said, because with the questions you have, because I just started rambling off asking a whole bunch of questions. He said, with the questions you have, I can't answer them. So I'd rather a professional give you an answer. I said, okay. Fast forward, he refers me to a cancer ENT specialist. The very next week, I go to see this doctor, and that's when he breaks everything down to me. Um, I have squamous cell carcinoma, which is caused from a virus. It was in my left tonsil, which was why I had the swelling on the left side of my neck. It it caused the lymph nodes on the left side of my neck to swell, and there was 3 of them. And he couldn't do so because I'm asking, well, can't you do surgery and just take it out? People get surgery and get their tonsils taken out all the time. He said, well, if we do the surgery, we wouldn't be able to get all of it out. And I can't do the surgery on your neck to get the lymph nodes out because they're entangled around blood vessels that um, that messes with the features on that side of my face. So it blesses with the blood vessels that are attached to my smile, my facial expressions, everything that go on the left side of my face is going. Those lymph nodes are wrapped around it on that side of my neck. And I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh. And that was the first question. The second question I had was, uh, what what stage am I in? Because if I have I do know I did hear that when you have cancer, you have stages. So what stage am I? He goes and he comes back out with this book. He said, I'm going to show you exactly what stage you are and why you're at this stage. And he goes in this book, he opened this book and he showed me you're at stage 1, which I'm like, okay, that's not bad. If I'm at stage 1, this is a good thing. Um, he said, yep, you're at stage 1. And being at stage 1, you have because I also asked, what is, like, will I die? He said, well, you have most people who have this type of cancer and is at this stage, they're at 93% chance of surviving. Let me tell you guys something. You don't know fear until someone puts a time, like when they put a limit on your life, when they give you this like rationale that you can live or maybe die. I don't care if it's 95%, 90%, for someone to give you a time, any kind of time on your life, it is extremely scary. But when you think about your day, when you go outside every day, you're risking your life driving in traffic. If you're flying on an airplane, if you're just walking down the street, today's society is just crazy. There's constant stuff happening in the world today. But for somebody to sit there and look you in the face and give you a time frame, that's a whole different ball game. It doesn't get scarier than that to me. And I did not know what to say. I didn't know what to do. And he said, and he just kept looking at me, and he said, "Look, I'm going to sit here until you have answered every question you need to answer, until you understand what is going on." And I honestly can't even remember all the stuff I asked. I just asked question after question. I'm like, so what do I do? Do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? It's just constant stuff I'm asking about. It was an extremely scary moment. I remember going out to my car, sitting in my car for about 2 hours after I went to see him, because I had to get in my head what he just told me. How do you get cancer in your neck? I mean your throat. I don't smoke. I rarely drink. And it just really, taught me a whole lot about, life and viruses and things like that, because mine was caught from a virus. They said I probably had some type of virus when I was a kid. And when COVID hit, it metastasized into cancer and just grew, because I definitely don't remember a bulge being in my neck a few years before that. It literally just happened. I'm always checking myself, just, touching my neck and things like that. It was a very scary moment for me. I'll never forget it. That was the first time I didn't know if I was going to live, if I was going to die, because I always feel like people only tell you the part truth. They don't really tell you the whole truth. But after that moment, I have literally been going from doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor that entire time, all the way up to starting the treatment. So in that process, between that time and starting my treatments, I had a huge decision to make. I had a decision to even take the treatment. They wanted me to do radiation and chemo at the same time. Now, what I had heard from several people was they do one at a time. They'll do the chemo first and then the radiation, or they'll do the radiation first and then the chemo. Well, they was doing me at the same time. So when I started, chemo was the very first thing I started. The very next day I started radiation. Radiation was 5 days a week, every morning. It only took about 7 minutes. That whole process was 7 minutes every day in the morning. The longest time was getting there. It took me about 15 minutes to get there. I would walk inside, sit down. They call me to the back. I would put on a gown, one of their gowns. I didn't, just the top part, and they would take me into a back room. They had to fit me for a mask, and the mask was made of like a net material. So they put this net sheet into a microwave and let it warm so it gets soft. And then they put you on a table and press the mask against your face so it'll outline your entire head all the way to under your chin to the top of your head, and it pins down to the bed so you can't move your face or anything at all. You just literally stuck there, just like this, with this mask on your face, and there's a machine that goes around your head shooting the spot that has the cancer every time it go around. That was crazy. I had never ever experienced anything like that before in my life, but I had to do that every day, Monday through Friday, in first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. And I would usually be in and out in 20 minutes. Because like I said, you had to go in, you had to put a gown on, you had to go to the back, sit on the table, they had to strap you down. The whole process of them going around your head is 7 minutes. Then you get off, you go back, take the gown off, put your shirt on, and go head out the door. So it's about 20 minutes every morning. On Tuesdays, I would get chemo, and I had to do 6 chemo sessions. On Tuesdays after I go do my radiation, I had to go to chemo and be there at 9 o'clock. Now let me tell you about the chemo situation. Chemo is so scary. It is unbelievable. First thing is, before I started all my treatment, I had to get a port put in my chest. Actually, it was on this side. I had a port put in my chest, and a port is a plastic, a square plastic. It's like a plastic box that they put in your chest with a tube in it that goes and connect to a main blood vessel in your neck. And they use that to pump chemo in you every time you go. So instead of them having to put an IV in you every time you go, all they have to do is take this little pin, this needle. Well, it's not a needle. It's like attached to this little adapter, and they stick it inside the port, and then they attach that port to an IV tube and go straight up into the chemo bag. Um, the first day I went, they put you in this room. There's like 3, 6, 9. There's like 9 chairs in this room, and they all recline. They have, they're nice seats. They're very plush, nice reclining seats. They massage your back, your legs. Then they give you a heated blanket to put over you. They offer you food and all this. They make it as comfortable as they possibly can. And any day you'll be in there with a packed room with 8 other people who are getting other things done. But some of them were getting chemo, some of them were getting other stuff. But I know my situation was the chemo bag, and the chemo bag was huge. When they would bring the chemo out, because first they would put in a saline solution through the tube, and I guess flush the tube and get me ready for the chemo. Then they would give me a medicine that would stop me from throwing up, anti-nausea formula. So they would put another bag on there after they put the saline solution, a small bag, and run that through my system. And then they will bring out the chemo. When they brought out the chemo, they wore an entire hazmat suit with a shield on their face, with 2 pair of gloves on, and an apron on top of the hazmat suit. When they brought that out to me and they holding it like this, like it's like gonna blow up in their hands. They're holding it like this, and I'm looking and I'm like, what is that? They said, well, this is the chemo. I said, why y'all dressed like that? They said, because it can't touch our skin. If this busts or leak and hit our skin, it will burn through our skin. I said, but you about to put that in me, right? And she said, yeah. She said, the body's amazing, huh? And I'm like, what in the world? I I was terrified, totally terrified about the chemo. I don't think people know that chemo is literally a poison. Like it is the worst. It is nothing but poison. It destroys every cell in your body. It completely destroys every cell, the good and the bad. And they give you the chemo because they said it's easier for the radiation to hit the spot it needs to hit when all the cells are removed, and then your cells will rebuild themselves every week after you do the right chemo, and then you come back to kill them all again. That was horrible. That was the worst I've ever felt. Every single week, I got worse, worse, sicker, and sicker every time they gave me the chemo. It was, I don't think that stuff, I don't, I don't know who created it. I don't know what they created it for. Well, I know what they created it for, but I don't know why they would give it to a human being, people. Like, it is absolutely the worst thing I have ever had put in my body. Um, you feel sick. Like you literally feel like you're dying week by week. Like your body just feel like it's slowing down. Um, you're not sick, but you feel sick. Not like a sick where you got a cold or something, but a sick like your body is failing and you're gonna lose control of all your functions. Like that's how I was feeling, starting to feel every single week. It it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible, along with the radiation. So in the side effects of doing this, you lose taste in your mouth. Your saliva, the water, you don't even think about this, but your saliva in your mouth is watery until you do radiation. Radiation takes the liquid out of the saliva, and it's like you just have this mucus in your mouth. And you have to constantly drink water to keep your mouth watered. You have to go see the dentist and have them give you a fluoride tray to protect your teeth, because the water that's been removed from the saliva keeps your teeth a certain kind of way, and now you have to protect your teeth. Um, like I said, you lose your taste, you lose your appetite for food, because food tastes horrible. Everything tastes like metal. Literally, everything tastes like it's mixed with some type of metal or some type of chemical. It is, everything you eat is disgusting. Everything that you loved, it could be burgers, French fries, anything. It's all of a sudden now the worst tasting food you've ever eaten in your life, and you don't want to eat it at all. The only thing that I was able to get down was chocolate. Like it was, I had chocolate Ensures. They always tell you to drink Ensures because it has protein and stuff in it. But after so long, you start hating the taste of Ensures when that's all that you can drink. And you start hating the taste. It gets really, really unappetizing, to say the least. So keep in mind, and then you start losing your hair. I lost all my facial hair, which I don't have much hair on my face and stuff anyway, so it didn't really matter. But because I was literally hoping, like, go ahead and lose all this, so I don't have to go get it shaved anymore. But you lose your hair, your tongue turns white, with like black spots on it. Like it's just, you have a nasty taste in your mouth. You're constantly brushing your teeth. You constantly drinking water, but you can't really eat. And you slowly, all the foods you like is just disappear and disappear. Fruits, anything is just disappearing to the point to where you just don't want to eat nothing. Like the only thing you can do is drink the Ensure and hope that the protein helps keep you hydrated, and the water keeps you hydrated, and the Ensure keeps, replace the food that you need in your system. Now, they do have options. They can put a tube in your stomach where they can feed you through your stomach and give you all the nutrients and stuff you need. But I'm not trying to get nobody to put no tube in my stomach. Like, I just refuse to do that. And I did the research on that, and everybody who had it had this leftover scar and their stomach was looking crazy. I just didn't want that for myself. I said, I'd do anything. I just refused to do that. So fast forward. And I'm also, another side effect was I couldn't be in the sun. So the sun would burn the area where the radiation is. So if I was to go outside in the sun, hit the spot where I was getting radiation at, it would burn and be a very uncomfortable feeling. So I had to put gel on it to keep my skin soft, because you start getting a scar on your neck, um, from the radiation burn. It's just a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to go through, and it's a lot to process. Now, 5 weeks into my treatment, I had my fifth chemo. And this is where it gets really, really bad. Keep in mind, I said earlier that I got sicker and sicker and sicker every time I went and got the chemo. On the fifth week, I have six chemo treatments. On the fifth one is when I got sick, really sick. And when I went to my chemo doctor, because you have a radiation doctor and you have a chemo doctor, an oncologist. And when I went to the doctor, the oncologist for my chemo, they would say, "How you doing today?" And I would literally just be dragging in. I'm like, "I'm okay. I'm all right." Now, before all this started, and I knew I was going to be going through treatments and stuff, I just started eating like crazy, because one of the things they also tell you is that you're going to lose weight. So I just started eating. And because if I lose weight, I didn't want to lose so much that I look like a skeleton walking down the street. I just didn't want that. I wanted to have some substance left to me. So I just started eating. The That week, the fifth week of my chemo treatment, I got the sickest I had ever been. And by the end of that week, I got my chemo treatments on Tuesday. By Friday is when it hits you. And when it hit me, I just started throwing up that week. And I started throwing up blood. And I couldn't stop throwing up. I threw up all that day. I threw up the next day. And then a very good, good friend of mine took me to the hospital. Got me to the hospital. I got into the hospital. They immediately put me in a bed. Now, the hospital was packed solid. I told them I was dealing with cancer and what was happening to me. They immediately put me in a room. And once I got in the room, I did not leave the hospital for a week. I literally threw up every single day, 6, 7 times a day. It got to the point that I literally couldn't even drink the Ensure. I had a hard time drinking water. If I drank water, I would throw up. If I drank Ensure, I would throw up. Anything I tried to eat, I would throw up. This went on for a week in the hospital, but altogether for 5.5 weeks. Now, when I went to the hospital, the doctor said that they glad I came when I did because they didn't know if I would make it at that time. That was the first encounter. And 5.5 weeks, I went through throwing up every single day, many, many times a day. I couldn't drink water. I couldn't drink any liquids. I couldn't eat any food at all. I don't know if anybody could understand how you feel when you just can't eat and you want to eat. Like you really want some food because I was hungry, but I couldn't eat anything without throwing it back up. It was the horrible 5.5 weeks I had ever experienced, and I was scared for my life. I was scared to death because every day I got weaker and weaker and lost weight and lost more weight and lost more weight. I lost 75 pounds at the end of all this. When it started, I was at 309 because I kept eating. I'm 6'5", so a lot of people couldn't even tell I was that big. But I got all the way down to 239 pounds. So after that's, 70, 75, 77 pounds, 78 pounds, somewhere up in there. I lost a lot of weight because I literally couldn't eat and I had a hard time drinking as well. And when you can't eat and drink for about 5.5 weeks, your body starts acting funny. It's hard to describe it, but all of your body, all the different organs and stuff in your body, it's like you can feel them craving for something, but you can't give them nothing. Um, I went through a lot in that week. I kept bags of uh, those throw up bags that they have in the hospital. I had a bunch of them and was going through those like crazy. Everything I was just throwing up every single day. I didn't even know I had enough in me to throw up. But the doctors I saw it when I was in the hospital, I saw a gastroenterologist, a cardiologist, a oncologist. I saw at least 5 or 6 different doctors. No one could help me. Not one person could help me stop throwing up. Basically, it boiled down to the fact that the chemo got the best of me and I had to wait it out for it to get out of my system. And it took about 5.5 weeks for it to get all the way out of my system. Um, it was very scary. I literally felt like I was dying. Like I felt like I was dying. It got to the point where I went and started looking at my beneficiaries for my job, my accounts, making sure everything was in line because I just knew I was going to die. A lot of people was trying to call me to check on me. And I don't think people can understand what it feels like unless you go through this. you kind of just want to alienate yourself from everybody because nobody can really help you. I understand people want to help you, but no one can really help you. Your body just has to go through this transition and you just have to deal with it. And I had lost my voice when I got into the hospital. I didn't have no voice for a couple of weeks, and people would call me. I would try to answer, but I could barely talk. And it was like, wow, man, you sound bad. And I was like, well, this is why I'm not answering the phone. So, people wanted to come by. I had a few people that came by and saw me. But then, like I said, um, chemo destroys your blood cells, the white and red blood cells. So you don't have anything to fight any illnesses. If I caught a cold, if I caught the flu, anything, that's what will kill you because you have nothing to fight it with. You have no immune system. It is completely shut down. So when I get home, I'm always just in the bed and resting because I'm weak. I can barely hold myself up. I can barely walk. I can barely talk. Um, and you just don't want to be around people. You just don't want people to sit there and watch you feel like watch you dying, you know. It was very scary. Very, very scary. I didn't know to not know if you're gonna live or die is a hard thing. Um, I felt like I was dying. I felt like it would be a matter of time, and I just have to grasp it because I wasn't gonna be here much longer. Um, One of the things I used to do is sit in my bed and just look at two things. One, I would look at food. I would look at all these food critics who go out and test foods. And I'm like, I'm going to this restaurant. I want to go to this restaurant. I want to go there. I have never looked at any of that stuff until that whole process because I was so hungry but couldn't eat anything. I couldn't eat it because of the taste in my mouth, and I couldn't eat it because my body just wouldn't let me eat anything. The doctors, they tell you that some of this stuff will happen to you, but everybody's body reacts different. Everybody has a different reaction. Some people get through it without much problem. Some people get through it and it's a huge problem. It became a huge problem for me. My body just didn't adapt well to the chemo or the radiation. And it was heart wrenching because, the whole purpose of doing this is to get rid of uh, this illness you have in you, which really didn't seem like an illness because, like I said, it didn't hurt me or anything. Now, it could have gotten worse if I didn't treat it. But in hindsight, if I had went back and started over again, I probably would have tried organic stuff first. Because I've heard, sour sop, different things like that. I'd have just been on some type of regimen first before I went to the extravagant chemo and radiation. There have been many people that I saw healed from just sour sop and different herbs that they took. And what's interesting is that the doctors will tell you, don't like they literally told me this when I brought that up. I said, what about herbs and stuff? Can I try? That stuff don't work. You don't want to do that. I'm like, what? He said, that stuff don't work. Everybody who does that comes right back and they still have the cancer. It's not gone. And I'm sitting here reading online where people got healed from it. So that told me that this whole business is about money. And I'll give you a perfect example that this is about money. When I went to my radiation doctor, and I will never forget this because I literally looked at this woman in shock. Um, through the grace of God, I have great insurance with my company, and they covered quite a bit of the cost. Um, I still have my out-of-pocket expenses and my I had my out-of-pocket expenses I had to acquire, and my I'm losing my train of thought here. My the so at the, so basically all the money that I was supposed to pay, my portion of the money that I was supposed to pay was nowhere near what my insurance covered. My insurance covered about 90 to 95% of my bill. And I am so thankful for that because this ended up being close to $500,000 of charges that I went through. Um, so my insurance covered about 90 to 95% of my bill. My little portion that I was supposed to pay. And I remember when I went into the my radiologist, her receptionist, they have a person that deal with the finance part. And my oncologist for chemo, they were ready to schedule me. They scheduled me or had me ready to go and everything. But my radiologist, they wanted a portion of money out of my pocket. So keep in mind, radiation alone, when I first looked at the bill, the radiation alone was going to be about $100,000. They were paying $130,000. My portion that I needed to pay them was like $800. They would not schedule me. They would not put me on the schedule until I gave them a portion of my money, of my out-of-pocket expense. And I asked her, I said, so you mean to tell me that y'all are getting $130-something from my insurance company, but you're not going to schedule me because you want $300 of my $800? She said, I know that sounds crazy. I said, oh, it's crazy as hell. Excuse my French. But I said, that's crazy. Just bill me for the rest of it and schedule me. She was like, well, we can't do that. We got to take a part. I said, well, no. I said, that don't make any sense to me. She said, well, it's not us. It's the hospital. I said, it's not the hospital because the other department, the other doctor, which was the chemo oncologist, the chemo oncologist was right on it. They were scheduling me right away. They were just like, we got you on the schedule. We just waiting on a radiologist. They never asked me for a dime. But this lady, they wanted a portion. So I said, no, this is your office because that office is part of this whole network too. They never asked me for anything. Oh, well, I don't understand why they didn't. Because y'all are trying to get some money out of people. That's all y'all trying to do. She said, well, I'm sorry. Da, 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 da. So if it wasn't for that particular doctor being one of the best doctors in the area, I probably wouldn't have gave her the money. But I went ahead and gave her the money just so I can deal with that doctor. But that's when I learned this whole thing is a money grab. Radiation and chemo together, these cancer dollars, they make billions. It's a $1 billion industry. That's why everyone who tried to come out with a cure for cancer dies. They either get killed or they stuff get just vanished from the sites. They do not want you to get well. They want you to be sick to make money. Period. I learned that the hard way. It's all about the money. um, and I'm going over my time, but she's telling me I still could go a little bit longer. So I got sick, and what got me out of that situation was um, I went to an appointment on that 5.5 weeks later when I was still not eating, throwing up, couldn't drink anything. I went to a doctor's appointment, and one of the nurses told me, she said, "Mr. Richardson, if you don't do something, you're not gonna make it. If you don't eat something, if you don't do something, you're not gonna make it." I had lost all my frame. I was just a small guy, and I'm 6'5" and 9. If anybody has seen me prior to this, I've always been a big guy. Even in high school, my frame, everything, I lost all my weight and everything. And I was trying to lose weight in the beginning. I didn't think I would lose weight this way, but I had lost close to 80 pounds. And it was all that weight was just gone. And I was just bony, and I was going in there. All my clothes was hanging on me. I had went from an XXL down to a large, literally. Um, that last week that um, I had, I was throwing up and everything. I never forget that after that nurse told me that if I didn't do something, I'm not going to make it. The next day, I went, and yes, the weight saved my life. It did. The next day I went home. No, I went home that day. I threw up all that night. That next day was a Friday. I threw up that morning, and I went downstairs, and I was sitting in the kitchen, and I just started praying. I said, "Lord, please help me eat something." I just kept, "Please allow me to eat something. I just need to eat. I need to drink. I need to do something." So I had a canister of grapefruit. It's cut up grapefruit, red grapefruit. I love them. They're great, healthy. No sugar added, just natural cut up grapefruit in a plastic container. And I said, let me just try this. I go in there and I open it up and I eat one and I could taste it. And it tastes so good. And I just started crying. I said, oh my God, I could eat this. And I just ate and just ate, and I ate the whole container. And I called a very, very good friend of mine who's going to be on here really soon on one of the shows, um, and show her I was eating. And she just said, oh my God, you're eating. Um, After that, I just started eating and eating. Um, but I still couldn't eat a lot of stuff. I couldn't eat thick stuff like bread, anything that was thick, too thick, I couldn't eat. But anything that was kind of soupy or like fruit or stuff like that, I can eat. And that's when, I call. So Penny, guys, I always talk about Penny, who's the queen of WCEG. She made me a thing of soup, and it was so good. Lord have mercy. It was the best soup ever. She made me this big old thing of soup, and I tore it up. It was like had vegetables in it, a little meat, and it was so good. And I literally went through that whole thing, and I just cried that I could eat. It just felt so good that I could eat, and just like that, I stopped throwing up. Just like that, I was able to eat. I was able to drink within just after that prayer, because I had got to my worst at that time. I had got to a point where I could barely walk up my stairs to go to the room. Um, I couldn't. I couldn't feel it. It was like I couldn't hold myself up. Like I would literally lean against the wall. Walking down the stairs would drain me. I would just lay on the sofa most some of the days and just lay there and watch TV. Um, I was so weak. And then another thing is you get chemo fog. That was another side effect of it. I would forget everything. I couldn't remember people's names. I can't remember who people were. I couldn't remember stuff I had to do. I couldn't remember. It was crazy. It was the worst time I've ever had in my entire life. I don't wish this on anyone at all. And if I could go back, like I said, I would do this a whole different way. But through the grace of God, I got out of it. I started eating. I ate for about 2 weeks, and the doctors kept wanting me to come back to finish up my radiation because I still had 15 days left. So my throat started feeling better. My tongue started turning back to the color it's supposed to be. I started feeling decent, but they wanted me to just finish because I had a little bit of the bulge was still there, just a little. So they said, look, if you just come back and do these last ones, they should get it and you should be good to go. I go back, I take the test. I mean, not the test, but I go back, I do, I try to do the rest of my treatment for radiation. I only could do 8 days before my throat was inflamed with pain. And I walked in there and I told him, I said, I'm done. This is it. I'm done with this. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm out. I left and never went back. So um, I said, I won't be coming back. Don't call me and beg me to come back. I'm not coming back. I left. Now, what people don't know is that when this stuff is in your system, whether it's radiation or chemo, it takes about a month for it to get out, which is why when after the fifth chemo treatment, I went to the hospital. I was out of it for about 5.5 weeks because that was a little over a month, and the chemo finally had came out of my system enough for me where I could start eating. Radiation had worked itself. I was working itself out, but I went back to finish radiation and it started all over again. That's before it could even get to me throwing up. I shut it down. Not doing it again, not going through that ever again. So we, I stopped the radiation. Some time goes by and I'm still seeing doctors and stuff through all of this. And now I got to go back a little bit. When I was in the hospital, I found out I had a blood clot. The blood clot was caused from the port that I had in my chest. I had blood clot, and this is what I'm dealing with now. But I will say this: there was one good thing I did not say. I am cleared of cancer. I went and got a PET scan last week, Monday. Saw the doctor on Tuesday. They did not see any sign of cancer left in my system. When you finish radiation treatment, it's still doing its job for a month after you finish. So I didn't even have to do the 15 extra days. I only did 8 and they got everything out. I was so excited. I was so excited. And but I'm still dealing with leftover repercussions of me dealing with the chemo. Um, I have uropathy in both my legs, and if y'all don't know what that means, my legs go numb. It's something going on with the blood not traveling properly, and like I said, when the chemo is in your body, it destroys the good and the bad cells. So it started messing up blood vessels. So I'm dealing with that. I still have the blood clot. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'm kind of swollen up under here. I have, um, I think, what is it called? It's called, uh, I don't forgot what they said it was, but I have lymph nodes, lymphedema. That's what I have. I have lymphedema under my chin right here. So now I gotta go see a doctor for that. It's like everything, every time I turn around, I'm still having issues from taking the chemo and the radiation. Even though I'm cancer free now, I'm still dealing with the repercussions of taking the chemo and the radiation. And it's every time I turn around, it's something different. Because at first, I couldn't pick up anything heavy. I would just get dizzy and almost about to pass out. So I had to go get an MRI so they could check my brain and all. Like it's so many different things I've had to do. But I'm thankful to God that I'm still here, that I can do my show again. Um, I'm trying to go back into the gym and try to work out a little bit to build my strength back. I've been out on disability now for a while and just trying to get back to myself. The doctors tell me it's going to be 2 years before I get back to my actual self. That's hard to hear, but I have to keep going back seeing doctors and stuff for the next year or so. And I'm thankful to all the people who supported me through this, who was there for me. Selena, Tiffany, Nadine, Cassandra, um, there's been so many people, Joe Flint, Penny, um, um, Christine. You know, I've had a lot of nurses that call regularly, dietitian nurses, speech therapy nurses, nurses that checks everything. My insurance nurse, like yeah, and they have a nurse for insurance too. She was called. Everybody called me constantly, week by week, day by day, checking on me, seeing if I'm okay. They literally had me go through the hardest treatment known to man, and every doctor said that. It was the hardest treatment, and I still to this day don't understand why I got such hard treatment when I'm at a stage 1. I still don't understand that. That rationale still don't sit well with me. They never could really give me an answer except that this is um the treatment for what you have. Okay, but there's a lot of different treatments that you give to other people. You did not have to give me such harsh treatment. Like, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. But they gave it to me. They gave me the treatment. I am cancer free as of right now, but like I said, I still have some leftover things I have to deal with. I'm still on disability, trying to get through everything, but I am thankful to be alive. I am so thankful to be alive. Thank, thank you to my friends who held me down. Kathy as well. I have another friend who found out she had cancer the same time I did. She's going through some stuff now. Shouts out to her. It has just been a crazy situation. And to all those people who had my back and supported me through this, I truly thank you. You have no idea. And for the people who tried to help me and I just wouldn't let you in, please understand that what I was going through. This is a lot. It was a lot to take in, a lot to handle, and I didn't know what I need from day to day. Things just happen different every day. One day I'm okay, but I'm still getting sick. And then one day I may need something or somebody immediately, and I can't call you and ask you to come, leave your job. I didn't want to inconvenience people. And, people were saying, you're not inconveniencing me, da 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 da. Um, you the third. uh, Tiffany Roberts just sent me a message. So, um, it was hard. And I'm thankful for everyone who had my back. I'm thankful for, the people who still have my back. I'm thankful for all the people who gave money to my GoFundMe. It was very helpful. Um, I had a lot of things to handle and taking care of my mom, who's also been going through health problems as well. And I have a daughter here who I was taking care of as well. It was a lot. It was a lot for me to handle. And I had certain people that just would not leave my side and made sure I was straight no matter what. And thank you to those people and the one particular person, which y'all gonna find out who that is later. But who had my back through this whole thing. I am so thankful um, because people like that kept me alive and, helped me to realize that God ain't done with me yet. I still got things to do. I still have dreams and aspirations. I still have down hard friends who have my back to the core and want the best for me. And I saw that in this whole transition. So thank you guys for everything you've done, for your support. If I didn't name you, I'm sorry. It was a lot of people. You know who you are, though. You know who. You know how I feel about you because I try my best to tell everybody, how I feel about them and you know how much they meant to me through this whole thing. Yeah, Penny said, charge it to my head and not my heart. Because there was a lot of people who really was there for me and a lot of people who was trying to be there for me. And it wasn't a rejection people, the people that was trying to help me. I wasn't rejecting you. I was just going through a lot and couldn't, it's like every day was a different process. And until you go through this, you would never understand what that feels like. You'll never understand what it feels like to feel like every day you're a step closer to dying. That's hard to embrace, and I didn't want to embrace it. Um, but I'm glad that I'm here. I'm glad that God had my back. I'm glad that you know I'm here able to do this show again. I still can act, which is one of my favorite things to do. And through this process too, it's very interesting that my friend Tiffany just chimed in a little bit ago. Um, Through this process, at the very beginning, I did another movie, because the first movie I was doing was called A Strength of Love that I mentioned in the beginning. And then later, a month after, in February, I found out I had cancer the very end of January. In March, actually, I started shooting a movie called A Rose Through Cancer, a movie about cancer. And my friend Tiffany, I had to tell her about my situation. And um, it was her movie that I was doing. And I had to tell her my situation because my treatments were going to fall in the time that we were filming. And through the grace of God, my treatments kept being pushed back and pushed back until I started the week after we stopped filming. I started my treatments, which I'm so glad I did because I got so sick. But I remember telling her, I'm not going to tell you I can't do your movie. You got to tell me I can't do your movie. And Tiffany told me, you doing my movie. We're going to work through this. Thank you, Tiffany. That meant a lot because I really wanted to do that movie, and I did that movie. So I'm so thankful. And I was going through that whole movie, going from doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor. Every day I wasn't on set, I was at a doctor's office somewhere. And it was hard. It was so hard. I was so tired and drained. And just thank you to the people who had my back and supported me. On that note, I'm going to end this show. This is my first show back, and I wanted everybody to know what I was going through. I'm still going through some things, but I feel much better. Well, better than I did feel before. I'm still going through some things, but um, I'm happy to be alive. I'm just so happy to be alive. So thank you all for tuning in. That tune in. If you're seeing this, share it with your people. Let them hear my story. Um, People have been asking me to do a movie about what I went through, and I'm thinking about writing this, well, I actually started writing this, turn this into a script because I want to do the movie about this. I think people need to see what actually has went on because there's a lot of things. I could be here all day long talking to you about what the doctor said to me, how I had to fight them, how I almost cut some of them out because they talk to you like you don't, like you're stupid and you don't know anything. And when you check them on stuff, then they don't know what to say, or they trying to backtrack and trying to make up something else to say. People know what you're talking about when you see these doctors. Know what's going on, know what causes what does what you can get out of certain things, because these doctors will tell you anything to get you to spend their money. Period. They will tell you anything. I don't care if it's good for you or bad for you. They will tell you to take it. They will tell you to do it because you got to pay. And that's just what it is. And I said that to their face. I said, y'all don't really care about people. I said that to one of my doctors, literally to their face. I said, y'all don't really care about anybody. Y'all just care about the money. Well, that's not true. Yes, it is true. Y'all proven it to me time and time again since I've been coming here. Y'all don't care nothing about my life or anything to do with it. You just want the money. And she got quiet. She didn't even know what to say after that. I said, yeah. I said, okay. Have a good day. And I got up and walked out of the office. But I let them know I'm not stupid. Like, you can't pull one over on me. With that being said, thank you for tuning in to WCEG Wood, the Hollywood of the South. I love you guys. I am so glad I'm back. I think, my next show, I got a female cowgirl who's gonna be on it. She's doing some amazing things in the industry. That's gonna be an interesting show. So tune in 2 weeks to my next show, October the 2nd. I'll have a guest on, and we're going to talk about this whole lifestyle of being a cowgirl. I mean, a real live Black cowgirl. Interesting. Very interesting. So tune in. I am Wardell Richardson here on WCEG Wood Hollywood of the South. Thank you once again. God bless you and peace.